Mississippi, do you see any lightning bugs over there?
Yes. And we had like one tiny like storm when I was a kid. I thought it was like a tsunami because all my stuffed animals fell off my bed. I was like, this is what they're talking about.
So exciting.
Yeah. But really it was just like real rain.
Oh man.
Oh, well.
East of the Mississippi.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, we're getting the signal. I think
We're getting
live.
the signal. Hello, everyone in Facebook world. All of you who actually have spent time in the South, we were just talking about how we don't have real rainstorms here besides like the 20 minutes of yesterday.
Right, exactly.
Well, welcome everyone to our Facebook Live event. I am so happy to be back doing these. I'm Kaya, I'm our tasting room manager here at Cinder, and I'm joined by our assistant winemaker, Haley.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I feel like it's been forever since I've seen you. But
Yeah, so much has happened since the last time we did these.
yeah, definitely.
We've been shut down in our tasting room, as most of you know, for 2 weeks to do some private wine club events that looked pretty different than how we've done them before.
Yeah, they were so much fun, though.
So much fun.
I had a good time.
Please, if you came, let us know what you thought. Tag us in your pictures. I want to see everything because I'm having a little bit of like a party sadness that they're over.
No, I
We
miss
ate
them.
so much good food.
So much food. It was mostly the food. It was great. And lots of great wines. And we're going to talk about one today.
Yeah, so we just released 9 new wines to the Wine Club a couple weeks ago. And to everyone, the whole world, as of yesterday. So we're going to talk about the Tempranillo today, which is one of those 9 new wines.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a couple things that we got to talk about first. I don't know about any of the deals that we got going on or anything, so just to get those out of the way.
I'm here to share our deals. So our staff pick is currently our Chardonnay. So our 2018 Chardonnay, you buy 6 bottles or more and you get an additional 10% off. So we've been doing that one and we love it. Try it next to the new Chardonnay. Stock up. We are going to run out of it soon. So it'll probably be the last one of its style that we do for a while.
Yeah.
That 2018 is drinking beautifully right now. So we're doing that. And then I'm also here to remind you that our tasting room is back open. Now that we're done with our parties, call us and make a reservation to come and taste all these 9 new wines. And exciting news, our patio now has planter boxes.
They look so beautiful.
They look so pretty.
Yeah, it looks awesome out there. So come check it out. We've
Yeah.
also got those misters. So, for the last couple hot weeks of the summer months, we can stay cool out there.
It's an oasis. It really is.
Oh,
So come hang out with
truly.
us. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so Tempranillo.
Yeah, let's get started.
Please open it. We're staring at
I
this,
know.
like, empty
We're thirsty.
glasses.
So, one thing that we're going to do to this Tempranillo before we actually try it is with this thing right here, right?
Yeah.
We're going to decant it, which we do for the first 6 months to a year with all of our new red wines.
And why is that? Like this, I think most people have seen this probably on a shelf and admire how beautiful they are. But
Right.
like, why would you do this to a new wine?
So usually when you just bottle a wine, with us, we filter it, right? So you're kind of shaking up all the molecules in there and allowing it to sit in the bottle lets them all reform. But if you're thirsty, like we are right now, if you want the wine to open back up and be a little bit easier to smell, or have the tannin soften a little bit, we just want to introduce a heavy amount of oxygen. So you want to do a lot of splashing, right? So this isn't like a delicate decanting that you would do, say, to like an older red wine to like remove sediment from it. We want to get a lot of oxygen in there.
So it's different when you decant a new wine versus an old wine.
Yes.
Not
yeah.
all decants are created equal.
Exactly. Yeah, this one is a lot of oxygen. You're basically aerating the wine, and again, it just helps you be able to smell the wine a little bit easier and softens the tannins a little bit. Yeah, let me see your glass.
Oh
over there.
yeah, what am I doing? Cool.
And with an older red wine, generally you've got the tannins falling out, and all of the sediment kind of goes to the bottom of the bottle, so that's when you really gently want to remove it from that. That way it doesn't get all mixed up in your glass. But yeah,
So when
that's
do you know
decanting.
when you should stop decanting a wine? Like early and old wines you want to decant.
Sure. I mean, it's really hard. You just kind of got to taste them. Like with us, it's never like a set period of time being like, oh, we've decanted for a year, let's stop now. You know, it's usually we're tasting the wine and being like, okay, now that I've opened the bottle and just poured it straight into the glass, it's still tasting. I can still smell it really well. Now I think we can stop decanting. But it's different for each wine. You know, I don't think there's any set protocol across the board with all the different wines. You kind of got to just play it wine to wine. So
There's no one rule.
yeah.
Drink it how you like it.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay,
But
well, let's drink it.
cheers, guys.
Cheers. Oh, this smells so yummy.
Yeah, it's that decanting. Opens it up a little bit.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Even just from when you try them side by side, if you have a chance in the tasting room and you watch us opening one, have us, you know, so you can try them next to each other, and you'll be so surprised by just what that splash will do to your wine and those powerful aromatics that it opens up immediately. It's
And it's especially
magical.
useful with what I'm guessing with this wine is going to be huge. It's going to be a huge wine.
Yeah.
So with all those tannins on the finish here, it's just going to help it taste a little bit smoother of an experience when you decant it.
So what are you smelling in this wine right now?
I'm smelling a little bit of plum, a little bit of cranberry, a little bit of pipe tobacco.
Yeah, you guys
It's a
have to
little
let
bit
us
earthy.
know what you're thinking. I know we have so many Tempranillo fans out there. Let us know as you're drinking this at home. What are you tasting? Definitely earthy, huh?
Yeah, and also let us know if you guys have any questions. We're going to be answering those at the end of this as well. So if you guys have any dying Tempranillo or winemaking related questions or anything, just throw them
Anything
our
at
way.
all.
Olivia's answering questions and doing comments and stuff. So.
Yeah, totally. You know, Tempranillo, we were just talking about this, but when I first started working here, Haley was my wine sensei, obviously, and taught me so much about drinking and tasting wine. And one of the things that you told me as I was learning wine descriptors, really, and I think part of it is learning the language, as you know, all palates, you're a good wine taster, let me tell you that.
And good wine drinkers, we know.
Good wine drinkers. But one of the things she told me was, like, if you're struggling to describe a wine, to think of a memory or a scene that's associated with that. And Tempranillo always resonates to me as like smoking a cigar with my grandpa on his back porch, and he has this like terracotta fire pit, and there's something about the earthiness and the fact that he always had pie around, probably too. It's sort of that like plum, earth, smoked tobacco, and nostalgia that I always associate with Tempranillo, and it's so lovely.
Yeah, it's a fun thing to do, you know. That's one of the great things about wine is it can be so heavily influenced based off of your experiences and where you're at, who you're with. So it's one of my favorite things about wine.
Yeah,
for sure.
Tell us your Tempranillo stories.
Yeah. One thing though, as we're talking about this, I know that you're fluent in Spanish, right?
I try to be.
Could you tell everyone out there what Tempranillo means?
Yeah, so Tempranillo, temprano, the word, it means early in Spanish, and that's about all I could tell you about it. But what, you know, temprano is the word, which in Spanish means early. But why is it that associated with this grape?
Yeah, why did they name it this, right? This variety, Tempranillo, ripens super early in the season. It's one of the first red grapes that we bring in-house. Usually after we bring in quite a few of our white wines, because those come in first. Well, the first thing that'll come in as far as red grapes will be the Tempranillo.
Yeah, and that's just how Tempranillo ages and how it ripens. And I don't think a lot of people know that we bring in white wines before red wines. And is that because we want to on winemaker choice? Do all wineries do that?
No, definitely. It's not. Again, every winemaker is different. Every wine is different. So it's up to the individual and their artistic expression. But generally, whites are brought in first because you want to save the acid that's in the grapes. Because as the grapes ripen, the sugars go up and the acid goes down. Generally, you want quite a bit of acid with your white wines. And then also, you don't really want a high alcohol percentage with white wines.
Maybe
too.
you don't, but
Well, you can feel high alcohol a little bit more with a white wine. If you ever breathe out and you can just feel your mouth like it's like you're breathing fire or something, that's from the alcohol, right? From the evaporation happening, which you don't really want with white wines. They're a little bit more delicate, so you have to treat them as such.
Yeah.
And that just, comes through with a little bit earlier ripening. And then with red wines, a little bit higher alcohol doesn't really matter, but generally why you leave them on the vine so much longer is you want the tannins to develop.
Yeah.
So at first, when these grapes are just ripening, you wouldn't just want to bring in red fruit as soon as it has the red skins come in. It goes through veraison, right? That's what that's called. You want to allow the tannins to actually develop, because at first you get a lot of what's called green flavors with the tannins, green tannins called pyrazines, so that they can taste like green pepper or that, it's not very pleasant, especially with like cab or something.
Yeah.
It's not really anything you want to taste in a red wine. Maybe with Sauvignon Blanc, but not with a red wine. And the only way those diminish and form the more mature tannins is on the vine, and the seed will go from green to brown. That's called lignifying. It'll lignify.
It's always a science lesson with Haley. I love it. Lignifying.
And then as soon as they're tasting good, they have high enough sugar, the tannins are developed. That's when we'll actually bring them into the winery.
Yeah. So that just in general happens earlier for Tempranillo.
Yeah, it does, just naturally. Does so well here in the desert, and that's just one of its characteristics.
Well, that's actually a good segue, because I always have this curiosity with Tempranillo, because I hear people talking about Tempranillo as the fruit in the desert, and Cinder seems so known for Tempranillo for so many people. We sell out of this wine immediately, so I know so many of you are stoked that it's back and grab some while it's here. But why is it that fruit in the desert, what makes Tempranillo do so well in this dry climate, or does it?
It does, yeah. It does incredibly well in these these temperatures, these climates that we have here in the Snake River Valley. We're generally considered a continental climate, so really hot summers, really cold winters, very high elevation as well, and very little rainfall. And that's actually pretty
That sounds
similar.
terrible for growing anything in my mind.
Right, yeah, it sounds terrible, but it's actually great for Tempranillo. In Spain, it's home, right, in the Rioja and Ribera del Duero. Those are almost identical conditions that we have here in the Snake River Valley. Ribera del Duero in particular. Almost the same elevation, 11 inches of rainfall. Just does incredibly well. I know they have a lot of potatoes in that area too, I've heard, so just makes sense, right, for us.
We're like little Spain.
Trying. But generally, Tempranillo is incredibly vigorous, so if it had access to as much water as it could consume, the canopies would get huge. The tannins, right, those pyrazines would never go away. They would just stay green, and the berries wouldn't taste very good. Tempranillo clusters, too, are massive. They're about 1 pound, and if it had access to water, I don't even want to imagine. It'd be like 2 pounds a cluster, and in comparison, right, a Cabernet Sauvignon cluster is like maybe 0.3 pounds.
Yeah.
So a pound is already huge, but you want to starve it. You want to kind of torture Tempranillo and grapes in general a little bit.
Yeah.
You want to monitor how much water is going in there. So coastal climates that have a little bit more rainfall or access to water just aren't as suited generally for Tempranillo or those really vigorous grapes like Malbec, for instance, too.
That's wild to me, because thinking about Cabernet and how much longer it stays on the vine, and how it's a quarter of or what did you say, 3/4 of the size of a regular Tempranillo cluster.
Yeah, it's very small.
Is wild.
Yeah,
just
they're
from
tiny.
the variation between. Oh, that's so crazy to me. So fun.
Yeah, the different grapes act completely differently. It's pretty exciting. But speaking of its native home in Spain, I know that you spent a whole bunch of time there.
Yeah.
I would love for you to talk about it, because it's such an interesting story. You guys gotta hear it.
Well, moral of the story is I've drank a lot of Tempranillo. I got to spend a good amount of time last year in the northern part of Spain, in the Basque Country, which borders La Rioja, the kind of home of Tempranillo. And I think one of the most surprising parts of it was that I went there knowing Tempranillo was huge, knowing this is where it comes from, and that there's so much history attached to it. And so I expected to see like Tempranillo, Tempranillo, Tempranillo everywhere, and it's nowhere because there all you drink is Tempranillo, so it just says La Rioja on all of the bottles.
Yeah, it just has the region.
Totally.
Because in Europe, they got to do things differently, right?
They do.
We do as well.
I respect it. So it was really fun to get to see all of this, you know, La Rioja everywhere, and I drank so much Tempranillo. But one of the fun parts, too, was seeing the ways that people engaged with that wine. And when you would go wine tasting, I'm sure some of you folks have had some of these experiences. Like, let me know where you've wine tasted and if it was like we have it here, because my experience was so interlocked with the history of where I was. So you go wine tasting and, you know, I'm in this little tiny town and I'm expecting castles and a merging of Napa Valley, and they're like, this is the oldest winery in the La Rioja. And I walk in to like the town, you know, get off the bus, and it's this like cobblestone streets, the tiniest town, like maybe 100 people lived there, you know?
Man.
And all of these just, there's nothing huge is standing, no giant, gorgeous winery in the way that I would expect. And so I walk up to the door and you see all these different wineries, and it's because so much of it was happening underground. So much of it was there historically from kind of war tunnels that were then converted into wine tasting.
Oh, wow.
And wine cellaring and
Right.
making in these cooler conditions, because again, hot climates.
Yeah.
If you don't have temperature control, then you're utilizing underground, which makes sense, but I had not thought of. And so there's so many tunnels in where I was in this little city, La Guardia, that you weren't even allowed to bring a car because the streets weren't strong enough.
Oh, man.
So like they were scared that your car was gonna fall under. They're like, no, we have to ferment wine under there.
Yeah, right? Bring your bike.
Totally, bring your bike. So that was so fun to me to get to experience so much Tempranillo in the region where it was, and have people who wouldn't even let you taste the wine until they took you into the tunnels and said, no, my family's been making wine here for generations and generations.
Right.
Come see this, come see these vines, come see this history. And it's so interlocked in that region that it feels like a huge honor to get to make it in the Snake River Valley, a region that's expanding, that's making a name for itself.
Right.
And that Tempranillo feels like the obvious desert and parallel to that. So
Definitely.
also Joe's here.
Hey, Joe.
Do you like Tempranillo? Oh, you're drinking beer. He's drinking beer.
Ignore him.
But anyways, that was
No, that's one of the great.
yeah.
That's one of the great things about wine, and one of the things that I really love about it is it's so interlocked with experience and
Yeah.
who you're with and the music that's playing and you know where you're at. I mean, it's a really unique art form that I don't know. I really appreciate. I love it. I'm glad that I'm doing it. I'm so glad you got to experience that too.
Yeah.
You know, so. Maybe in 20 years when we've got underground tunnels under
Yeah.
Cinder, we'll do that for you guys. We'll bring you down and bring you into the tunnels and then have you taste the wine.
You know, yeah, we talk to people all the time who are like, oh, you know, this feels like Napa Valley 50 years ago or something. That we are in a new wine region in so many ways. The AVA was established in what, 2008, 2007?
It was pretty
And so I always think about that with aging this wine, that like
Yeah.
when you get to taste a bottle of this Tempranillo, that in 50 years, when the Snake River Valley is known for Tempranillo or whatever it is, that you'll get to taste that piece of the history with it.
right.
And yeah, that it lays down, this wine ages really beautifully.
Yeah, it'll age great. I mean, it's still got quite a bit of tannin on the finish for me. And with a little bit of age, I want to say like 5 years minimum for me, but I'm a nerd. It's tasting good to you right now. You're right, you know.
Haley has more patience than all of us do.
But I'd probably lay it down for another 5 years, and those tannins will just soften a little bit, be a little bit more elegant and easier to drink.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, wine is history, and especially for the Snake River Valley.
Yeah.
So we're still so young, and it's going to be exciting to see how everything changes, and let alone the wine. You know?
So you were telling people something this week, because Haley was part of these presentations and doing the tastings
Some
for
of
the
you
new
maybe
wines.
saw me.
What year Tempranillo are you drinking at home?
I'm drinking my 2011 and 2012 Tempranillos right now.
Did you hear that? You have to wait 8 or 9 years in Haley's
Well, you don't
house.
have
In
to.
Haley's house to drink the
You
wine.
don't have to, because we've also got our library wines, right, that
Yeah.
we're selling. So if you're feeling super impatient, or you want to taste what your 2013, 2014 Tempranillo is tasting like right now, you can come in, book a reservation, and be able to taste them with our library flights. They are tasting amazing right now. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of the 2013. I
Yeah.
still think it's pretty youthful right now. I think it's got some age left on it, but still a remarkable amount of acidity to it. It's great. Also, if you just want to buy some, totally do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to just
We're
taste
pretty
it.
stoked about our library program because this is fairly new for us. So you can
Yeah.
come in, and we know, like myself, I'm not at the capacity where I'm going to age wine for 9 years. I'm proud when mine lasts 2. So we're all in our own stages with it. But you can come in and kind of taste, maybe you have something in your cellar and you don't know what it tastes like, or you just are curious about how our wines lay down, and if you're interested in laying down our current vintage, try them next to each other, because you're really going to get to taste how Tempranillo Snake River Valley evolves.
Definitely.
These are pretty similar stylistically for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, 13 I think was a little bit of a cooler year. 14 was a little bit of a warmer year, so there's slight differences there.
Yeah.
I think 13 has higher acid, personally. But it's definitely preference. Some people won't like that. Some people will like the 14.
Yeah.
But there is a huge difference between this and these wines.
Yeah.
And I think that main one being how long it was aged.
Yeah. So come in, play with it. It's
Come hang out.
Half off for wine club members, and you get a little, like a 2-3 ounce pour of each of these wines to try next to each other and get to do what maybe we don't have the patience for at home. So.
Exactly, yeah. Also, I think that right now, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're going to answer some questions from you guys.
Yeah.
And we'll take that opportunity to do that. Feel free to keep commenting them. How do you feel about your past Idaho, Oregon, and Washington Tempranillos against this one? This one is pretty in line with what the 2017 Snake River Valley one was. I mean, it's not going to change because it's the same region, right? So a lot of those characteristics are the same. I feel like this one is a little bit bigger. 2018 was a pretty warm vintage, so it's a little bit richer. It's a little bit more tannic, I think, than the 2017. So I think it'll age even better than the 2017 personally.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, why did we do a Washington, Oregon, Idaho Tempranillo last year?
Well, we had the wild Snowmageddon, right, in 2016, 2017. And so that essentially cut a lot of our production with Tempranillo because the vines didn't produce. There was a bit of winter kill. So in order to be able to get Tempranillo to you guys, we kind of got creative and purchased some from Oregon and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just blending it all together, which we could have done, it was an opportunity to show you guys terroir, right? This sense of place and how place, the vineyard, right? Vineyard and where you are really can affect flavor.
It was a little fun, silver lining to losing.
It was pretty fun.
Snowmageddon and Snowpocalypse, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got another question. Haley, what are you cooking at home with Tempranillo right now?
Oh boy. I've been thinking about empanadas lately.
Yeah.
I think that would be really
Dreaming
good.
of empanadas.
I am. Thinking about empanadas. Cooking, though, I mean, I do, chorizo tacos.
Yeah.
You could even do, a grilled portobello mushroom taco.
Yeah.
Or even just have that like a steak. I love doing that. I mean, that's kind of what I'm cooking right now.
Anything smoky and hearty, and I know that Chikateo does those chorizo sandwiches that are
really good.
Smoky grill. I guess I don't know if they're doing them right now, but it's the best Tempranillo pairing. I'm not cooking those at home though.
No, I'm not cooking those at home.
Wish I could.
Yeah, but tacos, that's super easy, and you could do chorizo, ground beef, anything, as long as you don't no spice with it. I would do salsa on the side,
Kind of strips your mouth.
Yeah, spicy and tannins, they just kind of clash. So I wouldn't do anything like that, but anything with spices, like earthy spices, I think would do really well.
Yum.
I know, I'm pretty hungry right now.
Now I feel, yeah. We were hoping to have, some tacos with you all tonight, but
As I'm always hoping.
Yeah.
Always hoping I have tacos.
for the third time.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I think we're probably good.
yeah.
That's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us and for coming in and seeing us over the last 2 weeks. We really loved seeing your guys' faces and being able to interact with you guys, and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, and thanks for having a glass of Tempranillo with us tonight.
Yeah.
So, cheers.